Hello my friends, how you doing? It is time for the long-awaited review of the Trek 1120 and all of the other gear that I had with me on the Baja Divide. Now in most bike review videos, I would have it right behind me and I would refer to it, but you know what? Some shithead stole the bike from me on Christmas Day.
Merry Christmas.
You heard that right, on Christmas freaking Day. I was super bummed out. It's been a few weeks now. I've moved on. I'm over it. I'm focusing on the positive. Let's get on with the review. Okay, first of all, I love the Trek 1120. I was really hoping to have it for a long time for a lot of other adventures, but let me tell you, it just felt right. You know when you get on a bicycle and it just feels like it's an extension of your body? That's how the Trek 1120 felt for me. And not all bikes do that for me. But it was one of those bikes when I got on it, I just felt like a badass and I could plow through anything. And that was probably due to the 3-inch fatter tires, which I absolutely loved. Another thing I really loved about the Trek, the racks. Of course, those awesome orange racks. The rear rack perfectly holds the 8-liter dry bags, and that is essentially all I needed for this ride. I would fill them all up, stuff them in, and they would go in and out of the slots really easy. On the front of the bike, I would have my lighter stuff, like the sleeping bag and some other things like my jacket, and that orange rack was perfect. I could just wrap it up and tie it on tight, and I was ready to go.
It's a good day. It's a very good day.
As far as the stock gearing on the bike, it was perfect for me. I had plenty of gears for going up the really, really steep mountains in Baja.
Okay, this one's super steep. Super duper steep. We're gonna do it though.
And plenty for going down when I wanted to cruise. Along with going down, I really loved the dropper saddle. Now this is something that's pretty unique to a adventure bike, but there were moments where I definitely used the dropper saddle, got behind a little bit, and I felt a lot more comfortable. The only one thing that I didn't like about the bike, and this is probably my fault, is the seat. The seat for some reason did not fit my ass. It really did not make my ass happy, and because of that, I got severe saddle sores.
Saddle sores are the worst!
Before you take the 1120 out on a long bike tour, you might want to ride that saddle for a bit before things get ugly, because they got ugly for me. It's easy to swap out a saddle and try something that is more fitting to your buttocks. I ran tubeless, of course, for Baja. There's no other way to do it, and it felt very comfortable. I would let air in and out as I went through sand and washboard and the other terrain.
Remember, Ryan, you chose to do this. This is your idea of a dream vacation.
A lot of people have asked if I wish I had shocks because they saw in the videos that I was just getting jolted to pieces on the washboard. And yeah, maybe shocks would take off some of that edge.
Washboards are awesome. I love them so much. I think my brain is a little shooken up.
Lowering the air in the tires certainly helped, but shocks is definitely, that's a big upgrade. It's a lot of money. You're looking at probably $700 to $1,000. So that's up to you. I spent 2 really tough weeks in the Baja and it handled everything. Of course, the sand sucked, but the sand would suck for any bike. People are saying, oh, I bet you wish you had a fat bike. Yeah, maybe in certain sections I wish a fat bike was airdropped to me just for the sand, but overall I think the 29 and 3-inch tires was perfect.
This is the heaviest my bike has ever been in my life. I need some help getting this down. This is so heavy.
And I had big water bottle holders on the fork and under the bike for my big fat water bottles, and that was definitely key. I don't know a lot about geometry and all that stuff and what makes a bike fit better than another bike, but let me just tell you that this bike fit me perfectly. I'm 5'11", I had the large frame, and it was the perfect bicycle for me. I absolutely love the Trek 1120, and I really love the orange racks. Orange is the best color in the world, wouldn't you agree? So in conclusion, this bike is great. I loved it. You've heard me say that. We had a lot of very, very romantic times together. Sunsets in the middle of nowhere, pure, isolated, secluded desert. It was amazing. So for 2 weeks, this bike was my absolute best friend. Would I recommend it to you? Excuse me, I'm just getting a little verklempt because I missed the bike.
I will remember you.
Would I recommend it to you? It depends. You know, a bike is like a pair of shoes. They're all different. You gotta try it out and make sure it fits you perfectly. But one thing I would say to do is to check out that saddle. It definitely was not friendly with my ass. Would it be friendly with your ass? There's only one way to find out. All right, now it's time to talk about the gear that I brought on this ride and how it worked out and maybe how it didn't work out. First of all, less is more. I've been on a lot of bike tours now, and bringing very little is usually a better option than bringing too much stuff, because if you bring too much stuff, then it's heavier and harder to pack, and it's just a pain in the ass. One of the most important pieces of clothing that I had was my light puffy jacket. I use this thing every night. The Baja gets pretty chilly at nighttime. Even though during the day it got into the 80s and 90s, nighttime was cold. It's the desert. All the heat leaves and goes into the stars. You see this amazing sunset? You see this amazing life? It's a good day. It's a very good day. I also really loved my buff. I wore it around my neck every single day to keep sun off. And at nighttime, I would move it to my forehead to keep my head warm or whatever, or to look cool like Rambo. Whoa. It gets chillier here at nighttime than I thought it would. And the reason why it's good to bring a very small amount of clothing is that you can wash your stuff in sinks every 3 to 4 days. There's hotels everywhere. So if you want to get a hotel every now and then, take a break. It's very, very possible. There are lots of hotels, and they cost between, let's say, $20 and $50. And this is how you do laundry on the road. And now for a shout out to the Boulder-based companies. Let's start with Slat Bag. These are the small bags I had up front right on my handlebars, and they open and close really easily. Additionally, I love the Can Sling by my friends at Green Guru. This thing went right on my handlebars. Again, easy to unzip and zip while I was riding to access the little things that I needed, like, you know, sunscreen and stuff like that. The Green Guru frame bag was a surprise. I'd never traveled with the frame bag before, and I really, really liked it. It was one giant pocket. That's where I kept my drone, actually, all packed up in my soft clothes. And this is the pocket where I would be able to lay my bike down during the day and get in and out of. The dry bags in the back were kind of for the end of the day. I'd pack them up in the morning and not touch them until the end of the day. Okay, and besides all of the basics that you're of course going to bring, like a sleeping bag, a small air mattress, you're gonna bring that stuff. What you might bring that I didn't bring was a tent. I did not bring a tent, and it was a-okay. There was not one drop of precipitation the entire time. I did bring a tarp, and a lot of people in the comments are saying, well, you could have gotten a tent that was as light as that tarp, which is probably true. And I've gotten a lot of other comments saying you could have saved weight here and here and here, but it doesn't really matter how much your stuff weighs, because your bike is gonna be heavy as shit once you pack all the water and food on it. There were plenty of days where I had 10 liters of water. 10 liters of water weighs 20 pounds. And that's the main thing here. You don't want to bring a lot because you need to have room for food and water. That's the most important part. If there's one piece of advice I tell anybody that's going to do the Baja Divide, bring a little bit of clothes and the essentials so that you have plenty of room for frijoles. The best burrito in the world. I'd give you the sunset burrito. And what about the food? How do you get food? Well, there are stores pretty much anywhere when you get into towns. Even teeny little roadside, you know, tiendas have places where you can buy food. I mainly subsisted off of beans. You can get bags of beans fresh tortillas. You can buy avocados and fruits every now and then, although it's hard. And it's also very hard to pack fruit because it just gets beat up. The problem really is that these stores have just a ton of junk food. I mean, and that's really what you're relegated to, is like candy bars, pan bimbo, which is like the Mexican sweetbreads, and all that type of stuff.
And this, my friends, is how we get purified water. Check this thing out. You just put your bottle in there, boom, purified water comes out magically. So much better than buying little bottles of water and filling up your bottles. No plastic waste. Reuse and recycle, baby.
Now this is something that people thought I was crazy to bring. And you're probably all gonna have that one item that you bring which is a little funky. This was my funky item. I just like having a nice shaved face. I just do. It's my weird thing, and every morning it's my ritual. I'm sure you guys have some weird things you bring as well. And you know, this, you wanna be comfortable. You're not going out there to just rough it and just be, you know, in pain the whole time. Bring something that makes you feel comfortable. Maybe it's, you know, a Bluetooth speaker or something.
Oh, yeah.
Bring the things that make you happy, because at the end of the day, you want to be comfortable. You don't want to be miserable. It's already hard enough to pedal your bike, which weighs at some points 50 to 60 pounds down the Baja through sand and washboard. Speaking of little extras, this was probably the biggest surprise for me. I threw it in there because you can deflate it and it gets really small, but it is a solar light. And I use this thing, woo, every single night. I would hang it up in a tree or whatever, and it would illuminate, you know, a pretty good about 10-meter radius. And I love this thing. And then once I wanted to see the stars, I would turn it off and boom, the stars. Oh my gosh, my friends. The stars in Baja are absolutely stunning. And that was my treat. That was my treat every single day. During the day, the riding was very, very hard. It was very difficult, but Mother Nature put on a show every single night. And remember, you're in a very civilized part of Mexico, even though at times it seems like you are in the middle of nowhere on a different planet, but it's civilized and you can go buy pretty much anything you need in a lot of these cities. And that goes for money. Take out lots of cash. You know what? You can't really rely on credit cards down there. Cash is really king and you need lots of it. And you know what? People are like, oh, I don't want to have too much cash because it's gonna get, you know, I'm gonna get robbed and Mexico's full of banditos, but it's not true. Everybody I've ever met in Mexico, and I've ridden my bike in Mexico a ton, I've never had any problems. So I wouldn't really worry about people robbing you. What I would worry about is Mexican mamas finding you and like feeding you over and over and over and trying to fatten you up, because that happened to me a few times. And those, my friends, are the magic moments of bike touring.
Oy, mira, gracias. Viene más o más. She keeps on giving me more and more food. This is so great. Oh my God, it's worth all of the suffering.
Now this is something for me personally, and it might pertain to you or not, but I brought a lot of cameras. I had 3 cameras. I had my drone, and I had 2 other smaller cameras. And I brought like 6 or 7 batteries for my little cameras and 2 batteries for my drone. And the reason why I did this is because I knew that I wouldn't be able to charge them up all that often. And you kind of can if you stay at hotels, but even then, a lot of the hotels I stayed at only had like 1 or 2 sockets. So bring lots and lots of batteries if you have a camera. Also, this is another thing, and you might not be able to do much about it, but if you can speak a little bit of Spanish, it will go a long way. The Mexican people really love it when you try to speak their language. It's a total show of respect. I luckily spent 2 years in Honduras, so I speak Spanish pretty well, and it opened up a lot of doors for me. So if you don't know any Spanish right now, start studying, at least get a base, and if nothing else, you'll put a smile on somebody's face when you're fumbling around for the words in some small tienda in the middle of nowhere.
¿Tú eres mi amigo, no? No, él dice que no. ¿Por qué no? Oh, sí, él es mi amigo.
So that's about it. I'm sure I forgot something. If I did, you can write it in the comments and ask me some questions. I will answer all of your questions. But if you're thinking about doing this ride, I would say do the ride. It was very hard for me, but it was beautiful. It was an amazing experience. It was very impactful. I fell more in love with Mexico, with the Mexican people, with the culture, with the landscape, with the stars, with Mother Nature, everything. This ride has it all, and I totally recommend it. But be ready for some long, hard, hot days. And sand, whew, that sand, you might want to just, you know, get yourself in a nice mental state where you're ready to deal with some sand, because it's going to happen and you're going to be yelling at a lot of dirt. This is seriously the most brutal bike route I have ever done or heard of in my life. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video or any of my other videos, and stay tuned for a whole lot more. 2018 is just getting going, and we, my friends, Team Duzer, we are going to have a ton of fun. And don't forget, get off your couch and get out there.